First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Brian and Bernie Rickinson, to come here today. This is a fairly unfamiliar world to me. Going back to when I was a student, I remember reading, I think, probably some old material from the Design Council, which focused on materials, for anti-graffiti sort of materials and substances and so on. And that's been about it until more recently, when we're now working with Bernie and the Institute of Materials and the RCA on a really interesting project looking at alternative substances to conventional glass, as drinking vessels, to reduce injuries from glassings in pubs and clubs. But I'll say more about that in a minute. I think the thing for me, though, about that particular project is that it's an example to me of how materials and material scientists can actually lead the way, if you like, in changing behaviour, and in this case, changing behaviour to reduce crime and the consequences of it. Now, I'm billed in the programme as talking about security applications. I think of that more broadly, because when I started to think about how material scientists and materials can contribute to crime reduction, I realised there are actually quite a lot of ways, and some of them are quite subtle ways in which materials can influence crime levels. So my talk today, I've expanded it to go beyond sort of rather hard-nosed security applications, to think about all the possible ways in which materials might be able to help. First of all, just to let you know where I'm coming from and where the government's coming from on all this. In 2008, the government launched its 3-year crime strategy, and within that was quite a significant push on designing out crime. Now, designing out crime is not a new concept. It's been around for many years, and in fact has been driven pretty much internationally by the UK government. So this isn't new for us. What is new is moving it on from where we are at the moment, which is it just feels like firefighting mode all the time. We government reacting to problems which have reached a sort of critical point. And I think now we need to get to the stage where designers, industry, commerce, business is thinking about crime prevention right at the very beginning, if you like, on the drawing board. Not an easy task, and that very quickly takes you into issues about incentives. What can we do to incentivize, encourage business to be thinking about the crime consequences of the decisions it makes, as well as all the other criteria that they have to think about at the same time. And broadly speaking, that these kinds of incentives fall into two kind of groups. There are market incentives, if you like, to do with demand. And then the second group are obviously standards and regulations, which are familiar territory for government, but not something that government is keen to quickly get into. So market incentives is something we're looking at first. And the other area we're looking at as part of this programme is actually how to react much faster to problems. As I say, in the past we've kind of responded not until a problem has become quite a severe problem nationally. And there are good reasons why that is, and we need, I think, now to get much better at identifying problems much faster, which involves the use of kind of new analytic techniques to distinguish a blip, if you like, in the crime stats from one that is going to continue to become a problem. So that's where I'm coming from. And to help us do this, and some of you may have come across this group, we've created this group called the Design and Technology Alliance. It's a group of 10 people, led by Sebastian Conran, and it has a fair mixture of people from the design world, from academia, and from the police service, as a sort of mix of people who we think can help us deliver this programme. They were put together as a group of people who have credibility, if you like, with the audience we're trying to get at. And, you know, what we want them to do is to, if you like, challenge and motivate industry. They have to get across the message that there are some very positive aspects to crime prevention. It's not negative all the time. And there are some very good examples where if you start to think about crime, actually what you end up with is a product which is a much better product anyway for consumers. And this is all about market and media. Media is a very important way, I think, of encouraging business to think much more about crime prevention. Now, the Alliance has been going for a while, and the programme they're working on is this. These are the topics that we've prioritised for them, for good reasons. Bear in mind this programme was set over a year ago, and of course a lot of things economically have happened since. But housing is on their agenda because of the plans at the time for large swathes of housing to be built. And there's a lot of good evidence that how you lay out and design housing has an impact on crime. So we wanted to make sure that the new generation of housing incorporated those principles. Schools, another area, again pretty much for the same reason. There's a big schools building programme going on underway at the moment. Alcohol-related crime, that is a major issue for us. Hot products, being essentially this sort of, you know, laptops, mobile products, essentially, particularly mobile phones, mobile terminals, and business crime, because business crime is also a big issue that government wants to help with. Now, where we are on this at the moment, and there are some opportunities here for material scientists. Where we are at the moment is in relation to housing, we're in the process of scoping, if you like, what we might do there. We have quite a lot of work underway with the Department for Communities and Local Government at the moment, and the question is what more the Alliance can add to that. On schools, what we're looking at there is a method for engaging school children in a process that leads to better designed schools, so that designers better understand the issues from children's point of view, and that includes issues on the route between home and school, which is quite significant, particularly, and that brings in, of course, transport.